Hello folks, how are we doing? Continue to watch, like, share, comment, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe. It helps my channel to grow. I need every subscriber I can get. Now, today I'll be sharing my views on something that's very sensitive and sad and speaks to a certain degree of naivety on the part of men. Over time, we've seen any number of men lose their wealth to their wives when there's a divorce. I think this could also be as a result of the laws of the particular country in which they live. For instance, if you live in places like the United States, and you get married without a prenup, and the divorce is at your instance, that is the man. I'm not a lawyer here, I'm just speaking as an everyday person, as a lay person, based on my understanding of how this thing goes. If the divorce is as a result of your wrongdoing, you the man, let's say you've been, mistreating the lady, maybe in instances of intimate partner violence, you've not been a good provider, you're cheating, whether they take this cheating thing seriously, you can actually have your spouse have spies follow you around and document the fact that you are not faithful, and that spouse will use it against you in court. In most instances, it is the women using such information against the men. And usually they will get handsomely compensated, especially if there are children involved. This sometimes gets as far as stripping the man of most of his wealth, which is why many of the truly wealthy over there are now resorting to prenuptial agreements and arrangements where you sign a contract stating exactly what goes to who in the event of a divorce. But for today, I'll be sharing with us a few instances where these things have happened. The most recent one is being reported by Pulse, and in fact, I'll just read it word for word. It says, Zimbabwean footballer loses house, cars to ex-wife after registering properties in her name. The story goes on to tell us that Zimbabwe international Tendai Ndoro has reportedly gone bankrupt after losing all his properties to his ex-wife following their divorce. The 36-year-old is said to have registered his properties in the name of his South African partner, Tando Maseko. A source close to the footballer is quoted as saying that all his properties have gone to his ex-wife since he registered them in her name. As you know, Ndoro was married to Tando, but they didn't have the best of marriages. They were always fighting. Despite that, he registered the house he had here in South Africa and the luxury cars they had under the lady's name. So when they had a falling out, he lost everything to Maseko, which explains the situation he is in now. But you know what? Ndoro is not the only footballer who has suffered this fate. I'll take 3 instances of sports men, not just footballers. The first one I became aware of was, this actually happened, I first became aware of the story in 2017. A certain Emmanuel Eboue, I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, it's not a Nigerian name. This story I'll also just read straight up because I don't have the facts in my head. So the name Emmanuel Eboue will not be quickly forgotten, especially with Arsenal faithful, as he was in the team that represented the club at the biggest stage of club football. However, the sophisticated, flashy lifestyle usually associated with football players seems to have eluded him after he lost a divorce battle to his wife, and got stripped of all his assets. The Ivorian earned millions during his 7 years in England's top flight, and then more than 1.5 million a year at Turkish side Galatasaray, but now runs around hiding from cops and bailiffs after being ordered by a judge to transfer his remaining Enfield home to his wife. Now, of all of these stories, the one that I find downright pathetic and straight up amusing is this one. NBA player's ex-wife labeled a predator after he was reportedly ordered to pay $2.4 million a year in child support. I'm going somewhere with this. Just listen. Again, I'll read it straight from the source. This one is taken from Hot 107.9. Listen to how some of our brothers land themselves in big trouble, because some of these women actually come with two huge red flags, flags as red as what I'm wearing, waving in the air. But you're like, yeah, some of these girls, they just pretend. This one, she lets it all out. At least you know exactly what you're dealing with. Let me read it, yeah. So, member of the Charlotte Hornets, PJ Washington, has reportedly been ordered to pay $200,000 a month in child support for the next 18 years to his ex-wife. The ex-wife and child's mother, Brittany Renner, is now receiving criticism on social media, with some even labeling her as a predator. Now, when the story came out, people on social media will always chip in their 2 cents of whatever it is they want to talk about, naturally. Somebody on Twitter said, PJ Washington is now forced to pay $200,000 a month in child support over the next 18 years. Ex-wife secretly filed for divorce 2 weeks after giving birth to the child. This same lady, the ex-wife, PJ Washington's ex-wife, did a whole video where she is caught saying, she's not caught because she did this video and put it online on some social media platform. And in that video, she says, so if you all really want to try to come up off a check of a man, you could just F an athlete. They're really down. She says this and chuckles. In response to that, another Twitter handle says, in 2018, Brittany Renner wrote a book on how to sleep with famous athletes and rappers. After that, she started dating PJ Washington despite being 7 years older than him. Black men, stop effing everything. Those aren't my words. I'm just reading what's there. Other people went ahead to mention that this is a lady who has hopped from, one famous athlete to another. She's evidently somebody who was not, trying to find love or anything. This was a lady who was out to get a meal ticket, and somebody provided it to her. Now, another tweep who probably was really pained by the whole thing, because it is evident the young man got taken advantage of, even if he was in the wrong. The age gap, the fact that this woman has written a book on things like this in the past, the video that she wrote, the video she made talking about how you can make money off athletes by effing them and things like that, all points in one direction. The girl was after the check and she got it. Now, somebody else breaks it down for us. This person says, PJ Washington makes $4 million a year before taxes. After paying 30% in taxes, that's $2.8 million left. He has to pay her $200,000 a month, which is $2.4 million a year, leaving him with $400,000 out of a cool $4 million. The full details of the instances of each divorce are not known. But usually, the wealthier party, is the person who gets thrown under the bus with regard to, dishing out the financial payments either for upkeep of lifestyle, for the kids and things like that for the woman and so on and so forth. So if this woman is able to prove that while both of you were together, her living expenses came to approximately, say, $400,000, $500,000 a month, to the extent that the wealthier party is also the offending party, chances are very good that that party will be asked to, pay a sum that will help her to continue living the kind of lifestyle she's accustomed to, either for her, the kids, and so on and so forth. For me, the women can't all be described as predators. But I do think that in all of the instances, the men were incredibly naive or unwise. In each instance, I would say that these men should have known their partners better. When you marry, before you even marry, what is attracting you to this person? Are you marrying her, for instance, because you're not a native of that country and you feel that marrying her would grant you citizenship rights? Did you marry this person with the best of intentions? Because you see, frequently we attract into our lives the exact same energy we put out. So while you're there thinking you're marrying this person in order to get this, the person is also coming with her own scheme. In the instance of the Zimbabwean, it appears he registered everything in his wife's name. Why? Even where partners really trust each other deeply, usually what happens is that there's joint ownership. So what was this whole thing about registering everything in his wife's name only? Was it her idea? What edge was that supposed to give him? Was there something he was trying to hide from the authorities? But whatever, that's all gone now. Then you have the Ghanaian. There again, we don't really know the full circumstances of the divorce. We just know that they got divorced and the wife is taking everything, including the last home he's living in, and she won't even let him talk to his daughters. That case must have gone very badly for him in court. But out of all of them, and the person I really feel for is this PJ Washington, because he's clearly somebody who was very naive. This woman made no attempt to hide who she was. This is the lady who was writing books about how to get with athletes and all of this. So you could see that this was something that was already running around in the back of her head. Shortly after they got married, shortly after she gave birth, she secretly filed for divorce. This is the one instance where I'll say that, as far as I'm concerned, because of preceding facts, there was malice aforethought. And I think in many instances, things like child support and alimony payments and things like this, I think they come to an end if this person remarries. Well, I mean, think about it. If you have somebody who is, sending you $200,000 every month, why would you want to remarry and mess that up? Why? There are women out there who are also sharks. You can't afford to be naive. Life can be brutal. If anybody ever told you life is fair, they lied to you. There's nothing fair about life. And the more naive you are, the higher the chances that you'll get stiffed. You live in a country that doesn't mess with their women. Why would you want to be on the wrong end of the law in your marriage? Why? This is not the only person. Look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods had to part with huge amounts of money to his wife for being unfaithful. She took him to court. She won the case. Hands down, she had so much evidence. She had so much proof. I keep getting those words mixed up. I don't know which one is which. But she had so much proof. Women were sending her pictures, sending her all kinds of things that she used against him. She won the case and got the money, plenty of it. Tiger Woods is still not the Tiger Woods that was Tiger Woods before that divorce. Come on. It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard. If you want to mistreat your wife, come to places like Nigeria where you can do it and go scot-free. This is me being cynical, but it's facts. I've never heard that any Nigerian wife got compensated anything huge because the husband did anything to her. If you're aware of any such cases, please bring them to my attention. I'm not aware. You're living in places like the US, the UK, and then now I'm just finding out about South Africa. And then you have a wife in the house, and instead of you to conduct yourself in the proper fashion, or even if you're not going to conduct yourself in the proper fashion, at least don't sign everything off to her. You do that, you run around the whole place and get silly. And then she's like, okay, dude, no problem. Let's go do this in court. And you go to court, and with all the money, you cannot win the case. That's really bad. These are people who must have, at least in the first two instances, I dare say that these people were not model husbands. There's no way the cases would have gone so badly against them. So while I find the last story somewhat amusing, because any other person would probably have seen that woman coming from a mile off, he's also the only person out of these three, in fact 4, including Tiger Woods that I mentioned. He is the only person I have some sympathy for because he was clearly very naive and got taken advantage of.